I'm really excited to be sharing this episode, especially with you guys, because this interview with Ali Gilbert really dives into the importance of your hormones, what's going on right now, and what do you actually start doing about it. Realistically, what is it that you can be doing to make sure that you are looking, feeling, functioning the way that you need to day in, day out, so you're not scratching your head the whole time as to why your diet's not working. You might be training hard, but you're not seeing the results as well. So when it comes to you being able to actually get the results that you want, being able to, whether you perform on the golf field, whether you want to be able to perform in bed, whether you want to perform in the boardroom, or whether you want to perform in life as well, you are going to want to sink your teeth into this episode. Also importantly, this is actually going to be part one of a two-part series. So we're going to dive into the real important fundamentals that you need to understand and setting you up for success. And then in the next episode, we're going to go into the nitty-gritty for what you're going to be doing moving forward as well. Also, the best place for you to join us after every episode is in the My Body Blends community. I'll pop a link below so you can join the free group and get access to all the episodes, the live streams, the guides, the calls, and the programs as well. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you after this episode. Ali, thank you so much for coming onto the My Body Blend show. I am pumped to have you here right now because this is a very exciting topic that I know you are one of the very few human beings I want to get on to really talk about this, because you are living and breathing what we are diving into today. So before we start diving into all the questions, I just want to say a huge thank you for being here and taking the time out for us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Ali, before we dive into it, I want you to, in a nutshell, explain to the listener who you are and why you're so phenomenal.
Well, I'm a golf fitness professional, actually, in Connecticut. And basically, I now specialize in men's physiology and hormones. I have a disclaimer, I am not a doctor. I just play one in the gym. So anyway.
Nice.
But I work with predominantly men ages 30 to 65. And I also I'm a partner in a lab business that does comprehensive hormone testing and everything. So I have access to a lot of data that I get to read every week, and I get to see what effects training and testosterone replacement therapy and nutrition and everything has on the male physiology.
Okay, beautiful. This is so good because there's just so many questions I want to dive into when it comes into this. So, men wanting to look, feel, function better on a day-to-day. Let's kind of like set the context for today's conversation. Now, let's say a guy isn't feeling up to par, feeling off. They're going to the gym, not seeing results. They're sticking to the diet, but they're not really seeing their physique change. And then they walk into the gym and they go, Ali, I'm struggling. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. What steps do you take them through from here?
So the lifestyle questions come up. My clientele tends to be a bunch of CEOs and guys who are just constantly digitally in and turned on. So it's more, all right, are you sleeping? What is work like? What's going on in your life? You know, did they just have a baby? Something like that. And you kind of rule out all the lifestyle factors that may be contributing to how they're feeling. But additionally, it's always nice to have the extra data of lab work. And I asked them, when's the last time you got labs done? And it's usually, oh, I have a physical coming up, and I roll my eyes and I'm like, okay, that's only going to be part of what we need. And, you know, you want a baseline of your sex hormones, your testosterone, your estrogen, you know, maybe an adrenal stress index, but honestly, like 99% of people are probably dysregulated when it comes to cortisol. So that can kind of be fixed through circadian rhythm and sleep and all that. So, you know, let's see, because honestly, the biggest indicator is what I've known for is morning wood. So losing morning wood, that will indicate your health.
Yes. Okay. So, because I remember I'm pretty sure it was Charles Poliquin that was the first person that introduced me to morning wood. As in, a man should be waking up with an erection every single morning, hence pitching a tent in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
And once that starts to kind of, you know, not become every day, or it's not a complete erection, then that's starting to, give you an idea something might be wrong. And also, another indicator is like, all right, are you turning into a female in the sense of your fat storage pattern? Yes. So are you storing fat around the belly and the hips and the thighs? And is your V taper going away?
Yes. Okay, good. So we can definitely go down that feminization part. Now, let's say if we go, all right, time to get some blood work done. This is something that we've dived into in previous episodes, but I really want to get your take. What should we be looking at a baseline for blood work, or even, any testing? I don't want to just term it as blood.
Any testing? Well, for, what we do is mainly blood for the sex hormones, which is part of the entire hormone panel. So that includes a cardiovascular profile. So you can see the cholesterols, the triglycerides, the HDL, the LDL. It also includes the CBC, the complete blood count, which doctors do anyway when you go see them. It also includes the complete thyroid panel, which is T4, free T3, total T3, TSH, which is really the only one that doctors will do, reverse T3, and then thyroid antibodies in case they have an autoimmune disorder. But thyroid also there's receptors for thyroid hormone everywhere in your body. Free testosterone, total testosterone, estradiol, specifically the high sensitivity, which is the one that's more indicative of the lower range of estrogen for men. The other one, the standard ET for women, sex hormone binding globulin. So you can see, all right, if free T isn't where we want it to be, is it bound up?
Yep.
DHEA, so you can see, what the conversion is like. I mean, it's a lot.
No, it's great. I'm really happy you answered that so thoroughly, because that's the biggest problem is so many people, and I've had it, and I'm sure you get it all the time as well. Clients come through and say, yeah, I've got some blood work done, and they might send through their latest blood work and just say, for example, like the thyroid, it would be like just the TSH. And it'll be like, okay, This does not give us the entire picture that we need to look at to understand what we need to move forward with. So when it comes to the diet aspect, so we've gone, okay, blood work, we've got some blood work, we've got a baseline of understanding. We've looked at lifestyle situations. Now let's go through nutrition and then the training part. What is it? I'm literally getting wet right now from the rain. This is all-weather podcasting. This is fantastic. So when it comes to the nutrition part, what's going on with the kind of like how you set your clients up for success when first looking at their diets?
You got to have them do a food log, and that's really the first step. And if people are not willing to do that, they're not ready for change. That's kind of like my indicator. It's 3 days, write everything down, take a picture of it and text it to me. I really don't give a shit, or I don't care. Am I allowed to swear?
You're allowed. Let it rip, Howie.
So whatever it takes, just let me see what you're taking in. It's not to judge you as a person. And then you can kind of get an idea of, all right, maybe they're deficient in certain nutrients. And that's something also you can test for. We do have a micronutrient test because there are nutrients that are associated with testosterone deficiencies. And most of the time, we see a lot of people have an imbalance of omega-3 to omega-6, and they take in fats that they think are healthy, and it's mostly like an overabundance of nuts, and they're eating trail mix like it's, no one's business. And it's like, all right, guys, how about, some avocados or macadamia oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, stuff like that. Fish oil, obviously, in the States, where we get our fish necessarily is very important. So a lot of salmon, but making sure that it's wild and sockeye and all that stuff. So, and then also the greens, a lot of people don't get enough phytonutrients and cruciferous vegetables. And there's DIM, which I know you've heard of, which stands for diindolylmethane, which is a estrogen detoxifier. And you really can't eat enough cruciferous vegetables these days without giving somebody GI distress. So you can supplement with that. But you want to make sure that they're getting in, their greens. So it's really, all right, what are you eating? Why don't you know, a lot of my guys taking in too many carbohydrates without enough protein, or too much fat without enough protein. So
Awesome. That's
too
really good
low
because
of
my
anything.
no, that's
Huh?
great because my next question was going to be, what do you find guys are doing regularly wrong? Like, what are the common mistakes they're making? You already alluded to like nuts, like obviously like a bag of cashews or macadamias or something. Like you can just pile that stuff in all day and not even like notice. Like it's just too easy. What else are the common issues or problems people are going through right now?
They don't report it accurately in
Mm.
their mind. So in the morning, they'll be like, oh, I had some oatmeal. All right, what's in the oatmeal? And then you find out they add half a cup of granola in it, and it's just like all carbs. And they're like, well, I put peanut butter in it. And okay, that's a fat mainly. So it's more of an educational standpoint that I have to take. And
Excellent.
I find with men and actually, me and some women as well, they do very well with fat and protein in the morning, and it's very stabilizing.
Mm.
Or if they're training first thing, coffee with, bulletproof coffee. I have no problem with that, barring any other issues that can screw up their circadian rhythm. So a lot of the time they're just eating the wrong things at the wrong time, or they're on the golf course and at the turn they'll grab a banana with a granola bar, and that's just going to make their blood sugar crash. So,
Perfect. Okay, so let's say golfer is getting ready to tee off lunchtime. It's a Friday. He's cut off work early. He's coming in. What should someone actually start feeding themselves going into the day? You've already alluded to more of a protein and fat focused breakfast. What could the rest of the day look like?
yeah, breakfast you could do, a shake with an oil or a different type of fat, or steak and eggs. Going into lunch, usually a lot of them skip lunch. They go straight into the turn. So Epic bars, which I don't know if you're able to
No,
get
I
a hold
don't.
of
What are
this.
epic bars? They sound epic,
Um,
and excuse the pun.
Grass-fed beef jerky.
What?
Yeah, they're really good.
I'm
Actually,
missing out.
they have all these different types of animals they make them out of, so it's really good. And then you can pair that with some nuts. I have no problem, just not the entire bag.
Yep.
And then some branch chains, which help keep mood regulation as well as a little bit of energy. And then, usually that'll carry them into the end of the round. And that's when kind of things will go downhill if they're drinking a ton of beer. So, education about drinking and what to eat with alcohol and all that stuff.
Let's go straight into that because I think that's a fantastic subject to go into. Like when it comes to alcohol, how does a guy better, smarter look at this subject?
So I actually sent an email out to my metabolic golf guys out last week on Cinco de Mayo because for some reason in America we celebrate a Mexican holiday. So basically, it's not as bad as they think, but men can handle around between 2 and 4 drinks based on their body weight before it really starts to impact their hormones. And alcohol has a high thermic effect like protein does. So if you're going to drink, you would want to drink and eat protein and vegetables so you can kind of take advantage of that versus eating any fat or carbs with it, because the fat or the carbs will kind of get put on the back burner as the alcohol gets preferentially metabolized.
Yes.
So, it's still 7 calories per gram. Now, you don't want to be having sugary drinks. Beer tends to have an appetite suppressive effect a little bit. Red wine tends to stimulate the appetite. So it's kind of knowing, what affects you in what way. Because if you have 1 glass of red wine, you can eat everything. Maybe
Yes.
we switch to white wine or something different.
That's some really good advice. So when it comes to choosing our poison, what do you think, or if you looked at it in a totem pole, what would the choices go?
Beer in moderate amounts. Vodka, like a clear liquid. Like I personally, if I drink, which is rarely, I'll drink Tito's, which is a gluten-free vodka, and put lemon in it. Nothing else. You don't add sugar or anything. And then white wine, which doesn't have the same cortisol spiking stimulatory appetite effect as red wine. So
Awesome. Okay.
And
then kind of moving on to the more darker liquors as well.
that would be down low because there's actually a lot of calories in those.
Yes. Okay. No, it's really good. That was the advice I've gone through. Now, okay. So let's go deep. We've covered the basics. I think we've done a really good job. We've set the foundation. Now, when it comes to hormone therapy, a guy is starting to change his diet. He's starting to move better. He's training better. We'll get into the training portion as well. What are we now looking at when it comes to hormone therapy into, is it right for me? Do I need it? And actually, how do I use it?
So obviously it's based on blood work and what is going on in that person's life. So as I mentioned before, if they had a baby, men's testosterone levels tend to drop for about 6 to 12 months after. And we don't know exactly why, but we think it's because of evolution, keeping the guy at home so he can't go reproduce everywhere. And then are the hormones that stimulate sperm production and testosterone production, are they working, LH and FSH? What does the whole cascade look like, because everything gets manufactured from cholesterol? So, and then again, what are the symptoms too? If somebody's having symptoms and they've got a very high testosterone, okay, maybe we need to address lifestyle more. But out here in the States, 20 to 30 years ago, men weren't having the same issues that they are now. It's very estrogenic, the environment, with all the phthalates and toxins and stuff like that. So back to hormone therapy. So a lot of guys are afraid of going on testosterone replacement because the media has demonized it so much as being steroid. And it's not. I mean, it's a steroid hormone. But things like Winstrol and Anavar and Deca, and those are actual anabolic steroids that are derivatives of testosterone. They're synthetic. So going on actual testosterone replacement is the actual hormone, the bioidentical. And I tell a lot of people, because they ask me about creams and gels and patches and stuff, and the pharmaceutical industry is so wonderful over here and has created alternative methods of delivery to make money off of it via a cream, a gel, or a patch. Because literally a bottle of testosterone cypionate can be like $9. So they need to create something that doctors can write a script for and make money off of. Because you really have to have a good doctor, because he may say, all right, you're 30 years old, Chris. Your testosterone is, 320. That's really low. Here's a script for androgel. Now, the problem with those alternative methods is the output is sporadic, similar to the release of testosterone normally, but the levels don't get up to where you want it to be, which is optimal. And there could be, you can transfer it to your spouse or something, and if you're sweating or taking bath, it's not as helpful. Some of them also will get it will get pushed toward the DHT, which is the type of testosterone for hair loss. So, which helps with libido, but it also loses your hair. So they're not as favorable as the injections, and some people are afraid of needles. And yes, I understand that. And the media makes it seem like, oh, you're injecting, you're on steroids, but so you're not. So if a guy wants to have children, or if he's not done having kids, then you can start with HCG, which actually you can use with testosterone if you want, or you can use it by itself with HCG monotherapy, which is an LH analog, which stimulates the production of sperm and testosterone, and it will signal to the pituitary to output more. And that's what they use to, when men go on testosterone, they want to come off, and they want to keep their fertility, and they also want to not have testicular atrophy, which is a big issue when you go on testosterone replacement. So, and they can use anti-estrogens, or what are called SERMs, selective estrogen receptor modulators, like Clomid or tamoxifen, which kind of send a signal to the pituitary not to, take up the estrogen as well, which are also used in post-cycle therapy. So there's different options. You don't have to go straight to testosterone. But from a lifestyle standpoint, it would be, all right, let's try lifestyle. Let's try getting the right foods in first. Let's measure that, see what that does. Are you deficient in anything? Because if you're deficient in zinc, you could get a little bit of a boost, like 100 nanograms per deciliter. Vitamin D as well. And once we've covered all that, you still have symptoms. Are your test levels still in the low end? Free T levels still in the low end? Then you're a good candidate. And there's really nothing bad about it. Obviously, you have to clear any prostate issues or cancers, because it doesn't cause cancer, but it could, if you have prostate issues or if you've had prostate cancer, it could make it grow. And then, ruling out any other types of side effects. But you monitor for that medically to make sure, because it could increase your hematocrit, which could increase blood pressure and all that stuff. But it's all medically monitored. You find the right dosage. And then the side effects are lean body mass, fuller erections, more erection. It's endless for the positives. So.
No, it is great, and you've answered this so well, Ali, especially because I wanted to kind of set everything up being all right, diet, lifestyle, these important things. Okay, once they're in place, let's kind of take the next step. What do we need to look at from here? Knowing from the blood testing, then how do we know what do we need to take, how much, how often do we need to continue testing, getting everything lined up. And it was funny because the post you did on Facebook yesterday and how it was about inflammation, so looking at mitochondrial health as well. It's all these things that are looking actually how to improve your health, and then how this has a direct relationship into actually you being able to look, feel, function so much better on a day-to-day basis.
Totally. It's just even sleeping more, but that's so not fun to talk about. It's way more fun to talk about, well, what supplement can I use? Well, I posted today, I'm like, there are no supplements that will boost your testosterone that you can get over the counter. I'm sorry.
Yep.
If you really wanted to boost it that bad, just go on regular testosterone. It's not a bad thing. Women have been doing hormone replacement therapy for years, but all of a sudden, that's why I like to talk about it for guys, because it's taboo in their world.
Yep.
So, through Golf Fitness, I get a lot of guys who know what I do, and they use Golf Fitness as their front, and then confidently can tell me, well, I really want to look like this, be like this, but they don't want to tell people that because they've been shamed to do so.
Why do you think that is? I know this is going a bit deep in another direction, but why do you think the taboo-ness is around when it comes to this subject for men?
I think because of the days when pro hormones were legal and androstenedione was being used by professional athletes, and then also the pharmaceutical companies where the studies get funded to show XYZ with whatever alternative therapy. There's men who have low T who are being prescribed depression meds, because that is part of what happens when you have low testosterone. You can feel depressed. So it's more, all right, well, how can we increase sales for pharmaceuticals and stuff like that? Let's demonize and shame people for wanting to actually use something that's naturally produced in the body.
Okay, this is brilliant. I tell you what would be awesome. Would you have an example, like a case study of a client that came to you with very similar symptoms and problems that we've been talking about, has gone through a regimen that we can kind of touch on? Obviously, I don't want to name anyone or bring out personal details, but then kind of walk through kind of where they've gone to.
Sure. I couldn't, now I deal with HIPAA laws out here, so I couldn't name his name anyway without his permission, even though he's in all my presentations because he gives me permission to use everything. But so one guy, he was early 50s and very overweight. And that's one thing I didn't mention too, is if you have a lot of body fat to lose, that's automatically going to help you with the ratio, because body fat is very estrogenic. So there's a lot of estrogen receptors in body fat. So number one priority, drop body fat, boom. So he had a ton of visceral fat and was just never really worked out, smokes, drinks, all that stuff. So his test level was 2 something. His free T was non-existent. Mine was higher. And he ended up we had him on HCG, and then he ended up going on TRT, and he completely transformed his body, nice V taper, quad striations, like he's so proud. And this was a year transformation. You know, it doesn't happen overnight, but his triglycerides went down, his cholesterol went down, his inflammatory markers went down, like everything positive that could happen in his blood work happened. And he feels amazing. And he trains 5 days a week with me because he feels so good. So, you know, he has the ability, he can afford to monetarily to recover and nap and all that stuff. So, but I've also had guys, you know, in their 20s, even strength coaches, who've come in and their test, we had one kid, his test level was 121. And that's abnormal for somebody who's 25 years old. So it turns out, you know, over-the-counter test boosters, yes, a transient boost in test that you can't really notice, but once you stop, it could crash, send a negative feedback loop. His estrogen went up, and he, you know, felt like crap. So we had him actually eating more because we thought it was a calorie thing, and then used Clomid and HCG to kind of reset, and that helped a lot.
I was going to bring this up later because it's just perfect timing right now, but I remember I was 23 at the time, and I was just feeling not right, and I wasn't getting any leaner. I was stuck at about 12% body fat because I remember it was like weekly I was getting my calipers done, and I was like, what is going on? Anyway, I was like, this is done. So I went and saw a functional med doctor that I was actually sending all my clients to. So I went, and he got all my blood work tested, and he actually laughed when he read my testosterone levels out to me. Like, he chuckled at me.
That's horrible.
He was really low. He goes, I was in okay shape, but I was no by means any good. And he goes, look, it's the lifestyle that you're living. He goes, you're in a gym for about 12 hours a day, like doing physical work. You're obviously inside, so I've just got the fluorescent lights the entire time. I wasn't seeing any sunlight. I was eating like a ridiculously like low carb, low calorie diet, just trying to get lean. Do you know what I mean? I was hammering myself, so doing all the wrong things when it comes to it. And that's when I was just like, I had ridiculously low testosterone levels, and I had to completely change everything around to actually like slowly then bring it up.
Yeah, and you must have felt like trash, and you thought it was a diet thing, which a lot of these guys do.
I just went, so I was like, oh, it's not working. I diet harder. I train harder. So therefore, I was like doing double day training. I was eating less. And it's just like, no, it's actually making it worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the downfall of like the young strength coaches too, is like we run ourselves into the ground.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, you know, stress will deplete everything, and it will deplete your body. And then you see with the older guys, like, you know, they're going all day, they forget to eat, they train hard, they train fasted, they don't, you know, listen. Sometimes I have to like force branch chains at least something down their throat, and, you know, go eat. I walk them to the shake bar to make sure they have something after they train, because otherwise they'll get on the train to New York City and not eat 3 hours later, and it's just like a nightmare. So, you know, it's like you really have to handhold and monitor, and I think that's where like this coming from a female helps, because I'm like, do this, and I say it in confidence, and I'm a voice that's different from their mom and different from the wife. It's like, no, you have to do this, otherwise you're not going to look like this. You know, so they get it. And sometimes it's a longer educational route than others, but, you know, most people who want to change will do the necessary things in their lifestyle to live optimally. And that's who I want to work with, is the guys who want to take it to the next level.
Exactly. No, I love that. And I think that's why this episode has been a really good foundation of setting everything up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fast track this getting out, and I want to do a round 2 with you, Ali. I want to get you back on, and I want to go deep. I want to get questions from the guys coming in, and I want to go deep into what do we actually do moving forward. So like when it comes to the diet, how do we break it down? When it comes to the training, when it comes to even the TRT, obviously that's like a very broad strokes, but what do we actually do, and what should a guy be conscious of? When he does go to the doctor, what should he be asking? What should he be looking out for? And also like all those levels as well. How's that sound?
That sounds great, because honestly, nobody talks about like what size needle, where to inject, like all that stuff. And I talk about it so openly. I always say there's no such thing as TMI in my world. So,
Okay. No, I love this. This is so good. I'm loving it. Okay, so I tell you what, before we actually do wrap this up, Ali, what is the one thing that you want the listeners right now to walk away and take action on from this episode?
Get lab work done, because if you're past your 20s and you've never had your test levels and pre-test levels checked, it's always good to have a baseline.
Awesome.
It's always good to know what's going on internally so you can assess and then tweak and then go from there.
Is there a basic what they should get done, kind of round one, what you like to get your clients be tested for?
Yeah, so we were talking about it earlier.
I tell you what, don't even worry about spilling it out. Let's do something even better. Send it to me after we do the recording, and I'll put it in the post, so then everyone can just see it in the post and then know what they can actually go test it for. And then let's say round 2 in 2 weeks' time from now, and then we can rock the Casbah and just go all in on it.
Love it.
Yes, this is good. All right, and you know what? Let's do some case studies from this as well. Let's pick a couple of guys and let's actually get them through it, and we'll help them through specifically. Oh, this is fun. This is snowballing into bigger and better. Okay, awesome. Excellent. Now, where does the listener go to learn about you, Ali, and what you're doing?
My Instagram is at Metabolic Golf. They can go to metabolicgolf.com. My Twitter is Metabolic Golf, and my Facebook business page is Metabolic Golf, because I am running out of friends, or running out of room for friends.
He's got so many friends, Ali.
I have no friends on my personal page. So.
Good.
Oh my God.
Okay, so what I'll do is I will put in the show notes, I'll put all the links to get over to Ali, so you, the listener, can get straight onto it. And also we'll put in what should be you getting tested when you go to the doc to get some lab work done.
Perfect.
Brilliant. Ali, you have absolutely smashed this out. I cannot believe how quickly 30 minutes has gone with you.
Are we still recording?
We are still recording.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Let me know when we're off.
All right, Ali, thank you so much.
Now it's time for you to get the most out of this and comment below. This is where I will personally come in and give you the answers that you need. And as always, the best discussions happen over at mybodyblend.com. This is where I can give you all the guides, programs, and insights that I can't fit in these episodes. Plus the free diets and workouts are there waiting for you now. And if you did like this episode, then be sure to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode and I can send them straight to you. I'm looking forward to seeing you soon here and in the My Body Blends only community.